Oil. All right. All right. So we are here for the Mystery School Book Club. We're running a little behind time. We had some beautiful higher self training this morning with Alasa, and we have Jaina this week in person.
Hey guys.
Should I like put it?
It it doesn't matter. I'm
Okay.
here. You can hear me.
You can hear her. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen with everyone to show part two. Okay, perfect. All right, with this thingy. Okay, good. So, last week we spoke about Quantum Soul Awakens by Alasa Tiernan. And this week we're going a little bit deeper into that process. Did you enjoy last week's?
Yeah, I did.
Brilliant. All right. Well, pretty much all the stuff we did this week or like earlier today, I feel like it's probably going to come back up.
That's really good because full confession, I did not get to read any of the book this week.
Well,
So,
that's why I create questions. So we have the Quantum Soul Awakens here. You can see this book. You can get it on Amazon. You can also buy it on Kindle, and it is also available on audio or Audible, Audible,
audiobook.
audiobook through Audible.
Yeah.
Blah blah. Okay. So, and again, for someone who would like to join the conversation in the future, all you need to do is go to um r3miracles.com and click on this event, Mystery School Book Club, and then you're able to click the link in the description. So our first question, um, we're going to actually skip since you didn't read it.
Fair enough.
We're gonna go to the second question. Being the witness. In the last class, we spoke about neutrality, going deeper on this subject. How can you learn to become the observer?
Hmm. I think it involves like being able to control your emotions around things. Um, in order to be neutral, in order to observe, you have to put your own feelings aside for the time being. You have to be able to hold space essentially, without influencing and the other people, the other person, or whatever event or whatever. It's the ability to hold space for what is occurring.
Hmm, I like that. So it's funny because I like looked at it from a very different perspective.
Okay.
Though I probably would have thought about this, but because we just had our higher self training, we just played the observer for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do is it's, like we're helping someone be guided into a state of like theta, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
And and so yeah, like we have like a specific direction we're going, right? We have like some people use a script, some people just ad lib, right? But with that, you're not controlling their scene. They have like of what's going on here, like in the mental worlds, right? But you're actually becoming, as a facilitator, the observer. Like it's like, yeah, you provide certain keys for the person by asking questions, but I think that's exactly it. When you're asking questions, you're in observation mode because you're listening to the person in front of you and you're allowing um you know, like you have to allow for that communication to come out of their mouths so that, as you observe that, you wouldn't be able to get questions. And so I find it really interesting, and it's a really nice role to play. Um, like you're literally role playing in a sense. Um, I don't know. I really enjoyed that because uh when we're in the observation mode, um, we tend to actually grasp the nuggets of gold.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're always in output mode, what are we receiving?
Right.
You know? So, like, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you in regards to
Hmm.
holding space. It's the same thing.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just was like picturing it with a specific mental image based off
There are
of the,
different perspectives
yeah.
of it, you know, like we each hold space in our own ways and, like, and it is going to shift and change from day to day.
Absolutely. And with anything we encounter, really.
Yeah.
So that next question is how can you become the space holder? You jumped the
I
gun.
did.
How can you become the space holder? Um, be very powerful. Oh, hang on. I can't. Let me put my glasses back on. I just can't see anything out of my glasses to be able to read properly. All right. How can becoming the space holder be very powerful for someone moving through denser energies?
Mm. It provides the opportunity for them to speak or even if it's internal, process through what they need to process through. Um, whatever it may be for that's going to serve them, that's going to provide wisdom and clarity
Mm.
on their journey. Um, even if, it may look like asking a few questions to help them work through things. It may look like just staying silent as they vent to you, like it looks different. Um, but what was the last part of the question? How can becoming a space holder?
Be very powerful
Right,
for
yeah.
someone.
I think it's just that. It's being the observer. It's allowing them to move through those energy without judgment, without your emotions, like whether it's a shoulder to cry on, whether it's, like they need to go smash a glass and you need to come behind them and clean it up.
That's
We
fun.
may have had an experience like that, guys. Um, with me, the smasher of the glass. Um,
Emotions.
right, yeah. So like it is powerful to have that person come behind you and just know that like they're not judging, there's no judgment, like they're allowing you to just work through what you need to work through, knowing that that energy needs is being transmuted in that moment. It is being transmuted for the highest and best.
Also, what's interesting that just came through is there is something that I wanted to like ask in this now moment. And I noticed by literally us having created the sacred space, you're in giving mode as I'm in receiving of what you're saying, but I'm also feeling like, oh man, I wonder what that looks like. And I ask the question internally.
Mm-hmm.
Some way, shape, or form, we're communicating at different levels,
Yeah.
you know? And the moment that I said, I wonder what a space holder looks like I was going to ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that it came out of my thought,
Mm-hmm.
it was received to your spirit. And I didn't ask that question out loud, but you heard that question in
Mm.
some way, shape, or form
Right.
and actually verbalized it out. So like we're communicating at different levels, and being the space holder can really be in any shape or form
Right.
at any moment in time. And it can be as small as the giving and the receiving of a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a proper space holder, and we can hold that in different moments in different ways for each other, um, we can see a quantum jump in communication.
Yeah,
It's incredible,
it really is.
like lightning fast. So I thought that was very interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to share. So as you go deeper into the quantum field, man, I forgot what I wrote, and it's just like really funny how it like really goes into the next thing. So as you go deeper into the quantum field, you begin to turn back the curtain of life. You may see different timelines merging or even mandala effects. Has this happened to you? And what was your response?
Hmm. I think we all have seen mandala effects at some point in time, like, and it's just like you find your other people that also know that mandala effect, and you're like, you process through it, like, wait, this person already died, right? Or this movie existed, right?
I know the one you're thinking of
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Um, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. What do you think about like the different things that have occurred with those, like, but yeah, I don't know how else to respond. Like,
Well, it's so interesting. So let's go back a little bit to something we spoke about last week.
okay.
Um, so Alasa has this app
Mm,
called the Akashic Pro app. Every single time you use it on your phone, it elevates, the frequency of your phone. Like
right.
it's a natural EMF protector, which is really cool. But one of the things we do is we set an intention, right? That we put into the app. Let's like do that for a second. Like I have
Okay.
the ability to do that. Um, where is it? There it is. So this is what it looks like. Oh, this is what it looks like. All right. And then you go and you can begin a Akashic Soul app session. Okay. So you put the intention. Well, was there? You put the intention in here. So every single time we use this, and we are essentially bringing up the codes
Hmm.
for it. Of course, we can use it in different ways. We can use it to manifest. We can use it to clear energies. We can upgrade energies.
Hmm.
There's like different ways. But say I put in uh an awesome journey to Serpent Mound with my fiance Jaina. Okay. And so I'm going to do an automatic reading because we're going to have different codes come up. Okay. So I'm going to read this on here. We're about to go to Serpent Mound. Like we're starting our journey literally tonight.
Yep.
But I'm bringing this up for a reason. So we have the intention, then the lead consciousness is general consciousness, who is connected, God. When 0 to 10, that's like an age, oftentimes. What is connected? Hopefulness. What energy expanding? No space.
Interesting.
Right. Where body? The head. Where meridian? Lower channel. Why? Protection. Planets, moon.
That's interesting. It's a full moon and a lunar eclipse tonight.
right? Essential oils, wintergreen.
Interesting.
Where energy being true source. Animals, rabbit. Temples, source. Vehicles, RV. Um, element, star. Powers, pendulum. Events, activation. Geometry, hexadron. Crystals, hematite. Cleanses, apple cider vinegar. Stars, Deneb, Adigi, I don't know how to say it. And solutions, other. So I'm bringing you through this because you notice that there are different things that came through when I read them out, right? There were star systems, there was planets, all these different things. When we clear, this particular like we allow for the energy to clear. So I'm gonna clear this. Are we ready and clear and complete, right?
Yep.
All right, so I'm clearing and completing. That energy now gets released out into the universe to reparticleize, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that's connected to this, like the moon, right? Anything connected to God consciousness, anything connected to 0 to 10, all of that, everything that I mentioned, that energy is being released and being reparticleized in the universe. We don't know how that looks always. The amount of things that we're clearing and recalibrizing and allowing for change, we have no um uh it's organic, right? We don't control it. I can't tell you like it's gonna go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Reason I'm bringing this up in regards to this question is because sometimes we don't know, like we don't just have the knowledge that it's connected to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe someone did a specific record that allowed for said mandala effect.
Right.
I know that was a long way to get to that,
Right.
but
Okay.
that's how things are connected in the quantum field. We may not quite know what relates to what, what record is, unless you ask, you can ask, like we could do an entire thing on the mandala effects, of a specific thing. What is it connected to? We could do that. But to get to where it had been a mandala effect, it's quite interesting. So the more and more we upgrade things, it's not because, like, oh, it's a bad thing. It's just memory is being recreated in each moment.
Mm.
People remember different things.
Yeah.
And so that creates timeline shifts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Merging of timelines and different things like that. So I know that was a complex answer, but can you see a little bit more on how all of it kind of fits together in some way?
Yeah, I mean, I think of in soul school and everything, we talk a lot about quantum entanglement. And so quantum entanglement is just the quantum field gets tangled together, and there are different things that we can undo and clear out, like some things we may not want to unentangle, like my relationship with Catriel. Like I'm not gonna untangle that, but maybe the thing that's holding me back from when I was a kid, I want to untangle that from my field. I want to let that go and help and release it.
Right,
And so I feel like all of that comes into play.
right. One thing that I also wanted to mention is there was a friend of mine who you saw yesterday, where I was going through soul school and she wasn't. I saw a lot of things shift and change in our world, right?
Mm.
And so I noticed that when I would work on specific things, things would speed up. around me, where we could have a conversation, for instance, and I have full rememberings of a specific way something happened. This happens all the time with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she would have a completely different remembering of that. When we do these records, we can even go down to that. Like sometimes both answers are right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. We have those moments too.
It literally can be
Mhm.
both
Yeah,
because we may have just jumped a timeline,
yeah.
for the highest and best. And so like in this line of work, it's we often have to allow ourselves to one, not be an ego,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, do I always have to be right? No. Like, if you're wanting to be always right, this work is not for you.
That's true.
Because one thing that we can guarantee at each moment that things change.
Mm-hmm.
And we're acknowledging that we're releasing our soul essence to source, to the universe, to reparticleize in the highest and best ways. And that changes things, memories, and things like that. So I know that was a lot on that one, but I felt like it was a good clarifying thing.
Right, yeah.
So the quantum projector is a topic mentioned in this book. We begin to realize um, each one of us are powerful beings. We have always been creating our experiences, but now we can learn to use our tools that are within us for the highest and best experiences. How have you seen this manifest for you after receiving a powerful awareness?
Mm, that's a good question. It might take me a minute. Do you have an example first?
I'm trying to think. I think uh probably let's go with yesterday. Um, like there's a difference between intention and doing, correct?
Correct.
All right. So this past week, we put things under the Therify
Mm-hmm.
to allow for things to shift and change, right? To be
Yeah.
amplified and allow for the highest and best things to come through.
Mm-hmm.
We went in visited a dealership yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
That hadn't happened before.
Correct.
Energy moved, reparticleized for us to be there to
Yeah.
look at the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
So it's as simple as that. Because before in our schedule, things weren't aligning.
Correct.
And yeah, you can go Virgo minded all you'd like and so, well, I didn't have this, blah, 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 blah. No, but guess what? You did do this one action with this specific intention. And by that, it actually opened up quantum levels of being able to experience new things.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
So that it's as simple as that. It's as simple as going out, driving something you've driven every single day and deciding to take a different route.
Mm-hmm.
New experiences align. How about you?
Can I read the question again?
Yeah. You want me to read it to you?
Yeah, sure.
The quantum projector is a topic mentioned in this book. We begin to realize each one of us are powerful beings. We have always been creating our experiences, but now we have learned to use our tools that are within us for the highest and best experiences. How have you seen this manifest for you after receiving a powerful awareness?
Hmm. Well, I think, and I don't remember if I talked about it this week or the week before, but it's a similar experience, I feel like. Um, when I moved down here, I was exploring new things. I found a shop to explore some my witchy side of things, intention setting and that kind of thing. But they also happened to do Reiki shares once
Mm.
a month. Um, and I had never really heard of Reiki. I had no clue what it was, but I just had this feeling like I was supposed to go. And that me going to one Reiki share shifted so much within my field. And I may not have felt it immediately, but there was just this knowing, okay, I met with my Reiki master and other ladies doing Reiki that day. Um, I would know I was super relaxed after that, but I still didn't know a whole lot about it. But I did have a knowing in my being that I was supposed to go through this training
Mm.
to do Reiki and meet this woman who's my Reiki master, who is just this beautiful divine being. But that one decision put me into the field of my friend Kristen, who is a psychic and intuitive, who did a reading for me that day, who then connected me to Catriel because she was doing a class with him that day.
Mm.
So it just feels like, we make those decisions to go to these things and we don't realize how much it is going to shift for us 8 months down the road, you
Yep.
know?
We're essentially putting nugget of golds,
Right.
little sprinkles,
Breadcrumbs.
breadcrumbs, and we just have to keep listening
Mhm.
and use the tools that we have. So the quantum reactor is another term used to bring to our awareness that we can respond from the heart. How have you seen this happen in your life? So quantum reactor, if we think about like reactions,
Mhm.
and rather than reacting to a situation out of fear or any
Mhm.
other kind of lower vibration, we can choose to react from the heart, respond from the heart.
Right.
How has been doing this work, and learning to come from a place of compassion, how has that changed things that we could have been provided a different timeline if you would have,
Mhm.
reacted a different way?
The the thing that's coming up is not a happy memory. I'm just gonna warn you.
Okay.
The thing that just first pops into my head is when I knew it was the time was drawing near that I was gonna need to help Stewie, my old
Mm.
dog, my old man dog, cross the Rainbow Bridge. Um, and selfishly, I would have loved to have kept him around longer,
Mm.
but his quality of life was not what it once was. He was in a lot of pain. He couldn't walk. He was incontinent. Like um, it was hard watching him in that way. But I feel like it can be a very compassionate response when we have the ability to let our pets go in a kind of humane way to ease their suffering on this earth.
Mm.
Um, and so that I feel like that was somewhere where like I could have been selfish, but I reacted from my heart because I loved him. I love Stewie so much. Like I was able to give him that peace,
Mm.
you know? So that's what comes up for me.
Yeah. I feel like when I started doing this work, my dad and I always had a very unique way of like I would say responding to each other, but it's been more reactions.
Hmm.
I feel like at a certain point there was a change that happened when I chose to, like, sometimes my dad's a little hyper, you know? Sometimes he lets his emotions get the better of him in certain states, you know? And I remember a specific time when he was, you know, letting it out, and he just really needed someone to just hold space, not react to him.
Mm.
And go back to the holding space thing.
Hmm.
And he did, I didn't react. And he saw his mirror quicker. Not long after, he apologized.
Mm.
And from that point on, it almost felt like there was a turning point.
Right.
And I feel like I probably had done a record right before that.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. And it was quite interesting to see that that could shift.
Right.
Like when you're in certain patterns, you sometimes wonder if it's possible.
Yeah.
When you see after doing a record, something shifts and you're responding out of love, sometimes that is holding space.
Hmm.
Um, and it changes, then you're like paying attention.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, so that just happened. So I need to like do that more often, you know? Like, because really what we could do is take it personally, going back to the other books that we've read, you know, and all of these other things. And what is that really helping? No one.
Yeah.
It's not helping him. It's not helping me. And we could go around in circles, which we had. But the moment, you know, you can literally say, not mine. Let me be a loving being. He's going through a bad day. Hold
Hmm.
space. It can change an entire life,
Yeah, it really can.
you know? And it's so easy in this day and age to react to things.
Hmm.
So when we can choose the quantum reactor rather than the selfish
Yeah.
selfish reactor, it's a quantum leap.
Yep.
So speaking of that quantum jump, quantum jump is another term where quantum jump is another term. Where have you experienced a quantum jump in your life? What did it take to come to that point?
Um, so in 2023, summer of 2023, I went through um about a 10-day cycle of just shit hitting the fan. Um, and that cycle had a lot of crappy days in it. It started with the death of my grandmother.
Mm,
And then it ended with um, the passing of Stewie, who I just talked about. And then there were a bunch of little things in between there. I had a bunch of work stuff going on. I felt so claustrophobic at work. I wasn't growing. I didn't feel like I was being taken seriously. Um, and the night, there's so much like so many emotions, so many things coming to the surface throughout that 10-day period. But the night after I had let Stewie go, I came home and I was just sitting on the couch, just like being with my other dog. and trying to somehow like let her know what had happened. I remember laying on the floor with her and just trying to transfer those things, those sights, those memories to her to, so she knew because she was looking for him. Um, but then we were just sitting on the couch and I was just petting her. And I immediately I felt the frequency shift in my body. I thought something was wrong at first. I thought I had like low blood sugar or something, but I'm like, I've eaten. That doesn't make sense. Um, but I felt the frequency shift, and I immediately, once that frequency shift happened, I got a message that, Stewie had been there as a guide for me. Um, like the last, he was 16 years old. I had him for 13 years. Um, so those 13 years, like he had been there for me. And my parents, he stayed with my parents a lot too, but, and letting him go was kind of like a key unlocking. And it was in that moment, like those moments, that I really felt like there was a quantum jump, because my perspective on everything shifted and changed. I started having more gifts unlock. I think, a lot of times people will say, like, sometimes when you lose a loved one, you have gifts that start coming online because they're supposed to be on that other side to be a guide for you during that time. And I very much feel that with my grandmother and with Stewie. But my perspective shifted on so many things, on life in general, on death, on what we're really supposed to be, what we're really here to do, and how, like, I really started awakening in that moment. And so for me, like, that was the biggest quantum jump. And then looking back, it's just like, even just the perspective shifts on everything just changed my life.
It's so interesting because I feel like for me, it, it was my granny's passing that started everything in motion. And what was interesting was, like, she was probably one of the closest beings to my soul I've probably ever experienced, you know? And like, in some way, shape, or form, she was a reflection of my soul, right? She was a soulmate. And so it's interesting how when someone passes on, they can illuminate other soulmates.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, again, like this golden dust that literally you can meet a person, you're like, yep, that person's important. Yep, this location I'm going to is really important. This person connecting me to here is really important. You can start seeing the highlighter moments. And when you're opening up those doorways, you're literally, especially at the soul level, specifically, you're taking that fast track, that quantum leap, because your soul just wants to discover more of the soul. It wants to call in all of its essence. And that essence is also entangled with other souls. That is maybe even a aspect of your soul, of a larger soul, an over soul. And so it's really interesting when we choose to listen and let go of everything we may have once known, that can allow it to be the stepping stones, the blocks for us to jump to the next thing, to the next thing, and to illuminate these larger jumps.
Yeah.
So we're shifting gears a little bit to the Reikis. The Reikis are rays of love and light that consist of 13 rays. I know that you did not get to read them, but you went through the Reikis.
I did.
Um, can you think of, even if you think of a number that's coming to you right now? I actually turned directly to the Reikis in here, which is kind of
Right,
funny.
yeah.
Um, what what is a Reiki that jumps out at you?
Number seven's coming up.
Okay. I'm gonna go to number 7, and we're going to just read it for a moment so that we can kind of illuminate what these Reikis are. Reiki 7, if we break it up into 1 through 7, is self like sorry, it's like connected with the first level, which
Mhm.
often is self.
Right.
Okay. Reiki 7 brings forth a knowledge of the light of the one true love, that you are at higher perspectives, and the knowing of all that is love fractaled into many souls. That's funny.
That's really funny. Yeah.
In addition, we found that this Reiki 7 brings the knowing of what your true source creator knows for you, and the all as the perfection of love. Reiki 6 and Reiki 11 seem to work together. So I find that really, really funny, considering the fact that I just said that
Right.
whole thing. So for this one, you brought up 7, so we're gonna go with 7
Okay.
because I feel like I'm also on the same page here. Our soul's essence communicated together.
Uh-huh.
And so the Reikis, um, let's see here. I asked in here, were you able to practice one of the Reikis? If so, how was it for you? We're going to do that right here, right now. Okay. So if you take a moment and allow yourself to get into a peaceful space, allowing for your higher self to be a guide for this little journey we're about to go on, call forth from the Father and Mother of light, the white light across the plane, to reach from deep within your being and expand out into the aura and spread through the plane of existences. Allow the white christened consciousness, diamond light, to expand above you to the beyond while taking deep breaths. Allow the white light to expand to the left of you, to the beyond, and to the right of you and beyond. Breathe. Allow the white light of the all to comfort you and offer ease as it expands beyond you to the beyond, and to go in front of you to the beyond. Breathe. Allow the white light to expand below you to the beyond. Blessing all that it touches as you come back to the embrace of being love light itself.
Hey, okay, yeah, I talked to you on the phone.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Yeah. All right, so we'll get you set up on the Therify in just a minute. I do need you to fill out an intake form if you don't mind. Now, have you started chemo yet?
Yeah, I stopped last year.
Okay,
For 7 months, I quit for 3 because I was kind of feel good,
mhm.
and I'm not fond of chemo.
I hope you're enjoying a little bit of a pause in regards to the meditation. Um, Going deep. Now simply breathe and come back to your heart center as you allow yourself to be centered in love within and to the great beyond. Allow for any vibrations of Reiki 7 to shift and dissolve any densities. Open up for deep remembrance of the all and the one you are, and align to new levels of unification. Thank you. So how was that for you?
Relaxing.
Brilliant. Yeah, I really like this Reiki. It's
I feel like it's one that's come up more than others,
mm,
and given I'm still learning how to use the Reikis, but I feel like it's one that's come up in different sessions more than others have at this point in time.
interesting. I feel like 2 and 3 have come up for me, but yeah, I do remember 7 is coming up as well. So shifting, knowing that you guys can access any of the Reikis by going to Quantum Soul Awakens. Um, you can go a little bit deeper into the different practices connected. And of course, Alasa offers the Reiki certification, which we both attended, um, and it was phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. Highly recommend.
Highly recommend. So moving into our last few questions, what does it take, in your opinion, to be a skilled and balanced practitioner in the quantum healing field?
That's a good one. I think, for starters, it takes the, we talked a lot about holding space, but so much of being a practitioner is holding space for others while they work through whatever they're working through. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can offer as practitioners. But it's also having the understanding and the knowing how to help them dig a little deeper. And coming at it from a place of non-judgment, and also, but also knowing that, understanding that we have to work through our own stuff too, and face our own emotions as they arise. Because we're just gonna be better practitioners for it, and I feel like being the practitioner is needed right now, especially like a lot of the energies happening in the world. A lot of people are wanting to heal things within their life, are wanting to wake up to their own gifts that they have to offer so that they can then go out and help others the way that we are able to help others. So it takes a lot, but it's also really rewarding, and it doesn't, it's not draining or anything like that either.
Right.
You
Yeah. I feel like number one is taking care of ourselves,
Yeah.
noticing what our needs are, so that we can have our cup filled to be able to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a practice, noticing it's a practice, and literally hearing the word practice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In order for something become second nature or for it to be taught, you must practice it, like playing an instrument. And sometimes, um, some are better at the practice than others, you know? And what I mean by that is like we have to often remind ourselves to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I know that I work a little bit more in the intensity in depth, focused energy,
Right.
rather than like do something every single day. But noticing when we do have certain things in place that we can do every single day, it does pay off to be able to expand ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really aligning to what is the highest and best for our journey.
Right.
And that's a personal thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Because then we're building that repetitive muscle and we can build in other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can show up for ourselves and for the other
Yeah.
because they are a divine reflection of ourselves. And they're also showing us how much growth we've had or
Mm.
where we need to improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also learning how to one strategize, but also be mutable,
Mm-hmm.
I feel. Because every moment is different and needs a different thing.
Right.
Um, what are some ways you can bring more quantum soul practices into your everyday life?
Hmm. Well, I think a big thing is just awareness of when things are coming up that need to be faced and cleared.
Yeah.
Alasa, talks about how she uses her app like multiple times a day, every day, and I feel like um because everything's a reflection, even like, you know, insects in your home, like that's something that can come up and be cleared. It's
Yeah.
and so it's recognizing everything is a reflection of you and something it like you're creating within the world, and so what is that related to? What needs to be cleared there? What needs to be upgraded? What needs to be manifested or
And doing it with purpose,
and doing it with purpose? Yeah,
not
absolutely.
just because you can.
Exactly. It's like, how can I upgrade my life with this action?
And I feel like another big piece to that is also staying in the right community, like one that fits for you highest and best.
Right.
Because when we have those other souls around us to help us,
Mhm.
on our journey and our growth, we will all do better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So was this book helpful for your journey,
I think so, absolutely.
even by questions?
Even with just the questions. Well, and like, like I've gone through the Reiki's training, and I know Alasa, I know that her soul. And so I find that, super helpful. And I want to go back and read more in depth the Reiki's again, because it is, something that's I want to keep refreshing myself on so that I can know them on a deeper level.
Right. So I'm trying to look up here, um, class or the what is it called? Mystery School Book Club schedule. You see that on here at all?
Hmm.
It sometimes it doesn't let me like
Oh,
close out of things. And I don't understand why. So I'm just gonna look over.
is it over here?
Yeah, just can you go grab that and
Yeah.
I'll say it. So I'm just gonna read it to you all. The next one is we just did Quantum Soul Awakens. So this next week, we're gonna have 2 weeks of Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life book. Luckily, we have an entire journey to be able to listen to that book.
This is true.
So we're splitting it up into, 3.5 hours a week, but we're actually having a break next week. So we will not be on here on Thursday, but we will actually go through the entirety of the book. So it's just spread out over 2 weeks. So we won't have a conversation about it until the week of the 27th. And we'll discuss it on that day. So I thank you all for tuning in and joining for this beautiful I almost said episode, but class.
Kinda
It
is.
kind of is class of Mystery School Book Club. And thank you, Alasa, for writing this book. And thank you, Jenna, for joining us.
Of course.
And thank you, everyone who's tuned in. I love you all, divine, beautiful souls. And I will stop the share and I will end this. And then have a beautiful